Hey everybody, it's me, DeoGenZ, here with the final edition of our 100% Pokemon Colosseum walkthrough. And for this to be 100% run, I am going to have to unlock all the hearts of the shadow Pokemon that we have encountered in our journey. Now, in case you're wondering, hey Dio, I didn't see a big montage reel of you purifying the hearts of the shadow Pokemon because, as you know, when you capture a shadow poke, they have a shadow gauge, and you're going to have to diminish that gauge by entering them into battle, or my favorite method is using the perfumes in this town that we're in. I think it's Agate Village or Agate Village. I really forget. This has been a long time, folks. But yeah, I've actually, literally years ago, purified these Pokemon. Well, at least gotten them in their shadow gauge to the point at which you can take them to this relic stone here, and then they can fully open up their heart. And what's nice is if you are someone who likes to purify their heart by battling, one of the best things to do, one of the quickest ways to go about it, I suppose, is to do that battle tower, battle mountain sort of thing, and just keep battling Pokemon with your shadows and let them go mad and then call them. So they get enraged because their heart is closed as a shadow, and you can call them during battle, and this will calm them. And that action of calming them will clear their shadow gauge up. So those are the quickest ways to go about it. That's the way that I recommend, either the perfumes or using the Battle Mountain. And the nice thing about the Battle Mountain, in which there's like 100 matches you could do back to back to back if you so choose, is you've got all the experience that you would have gained unlocks as soon as you purify their heart. So you'll see all these Pokemon are getting a ribbon. That's just to signify that, good job, you did it. You purified their shadow nature, and now they can be normal Pokemon, and they can be transferred to your Game Boy Advance games, which I won't really show here simply because all my transfer cables and stuff are long gone or in storage. But I actually do have some code, the original files, if you will, of the Pokemon that I purified back in my original run of this game. I guess like in 2005. I really forget when this game came out, but it was in the early 2000s or something like that. And I still have those Pokemon. I still have the Shadow Tyranitar that was healed. And what's really cool is that through the subsequent generations, and a little cut there to get all the Shadow Pokemon over, because why do we need to waste footage showing you the Pokemon Center? You know what that looks like. But the cool thing is having the ribbon on the Pokemon is a nice little memento and reminder that, hey, you rescued these guys. You saved them from Colosseum, and not only did you save them from Colosseum, but you've brought them from Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, onwards to Heart Gold and Diamond and Pearl. Black and White, of course, were intermediate transfers. If you just think about how many different lines of transference we had to go through in order to get my Pokemon into my Sun and Moon game from Colosseum, it's immense. I think there's like over 5 different transfers that you have to do if you want that to happen. Of course, if you're just picking up this game today, it may be a little harder to find the transfer cables, but I'm sure a quick search on eBay or something will do you well. So it's very nice that we have Vibrava accessed, because back in the Dizzy, before you had Wi-Fi options, and you could just trade with anyone in the world like it was no big deal, Pokemon Colosseum was very pivotal in making sure that you filled up your Pokedex, because you just couldn't find a lot of these in your Game Boy Advance cartridge. So, it was really a great thing to get this game back in the day, and it felt like a very big payoff to unlock all the hearts of these shadow Pokemon. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of just doing this for the LP, for the walkthrough. I'm not going to transfer them over, so sorry guys, you're going to live in this file forever. But it's cool. I think that's really awesome that through the generations we were able to transmit our original code so far. It's mind-boggling to me to think that on the 3DS lies the same set of code, I transferred that same file, essentially, if you think of it in terms of data. Pokemon are files, right? And each file has its own custom entry based on the moves and experience and effort values that you gave that Pokemon in your time in Colosseum. But all that is still remaining through all the generations, and I think that's pretty neat. So that's a big, long-winded explanation of why it's cool to get a ribbon on your Pokemon here, because it's a ribbon that is only gained through this shadow purification process. So, now that I've pretty much explained away all that we have to know in terms of the shadow purification process, I mean, we've been doing it this whole time, really, by battling, and behind the scenes, I've just been purchasing a lot of perfume. I think the perfume method is one of my favorites. It's very easy, and if you store up a lot of money from your battles, you don't have to worry about taking a new shadow Pokemon out on your team. Because one of the things that can be somewhat annoying is the fact that they don't level up as a shadow Pokemon. Their hearts are closed, so also their experience gauge is locked up as well in place of that shadow bar. So, it's hard to make really good progress when your team keeps getting bifurcated, if you will, into these different shadow Pokemon lineages and just trying to heal their hearts. The nice thing that the game does is that when you catch a shadow, normally it's around the level that all the rest of your team should be at. So that's a nice way that Nintendo tries to balance things. But it doesn't always work out. If you're dealing with this Croconaw for a while and you had to come back for it because you chose a Quilava like I did as your first shadow poke to get in Phoenix City, it's gonna take a while for you to get it to a Feraligatr level. And by that point, the game might already be done for you, in the sense that the story is over. All that's really left is the Battle Mountain, like I mentioned before. And honestly, the Battle Mountain really only serves two purposes. One is, experience gaining and shadow purification, which I like to consider all as one thing, since you gain experience even as you're purifying your shadow poke. You just don't get them. You don't get the experience gain until you go through the full purification here. Take it to the Relic Stone and its heart's opened up. So, it regains all the moves that it didn't have before because of its shadow moves, regains its experience. But the other nice feature of Battle Mountain is that there is a way to catch Ho-Oh. I believe you got to do it through a special means. Like, you have to go to the title select screen and choose the Battle Mountain. I'm really not sure. All I can tell you guys is that I did, in fact, defeat 100 trainers there, and I've done it on multiple times, in multiple files. And I did it through the story mode, however, and no Ho-Oh was unlocked. So you would imagine my frustrations and, just kind of lack of will to complete it in terms of going back to the other version of Battle Mountain, whether it was on the title screen that I had to choose the option from, or whatnot, whatever haves you. I already has a Ho-Oh from Heart Gold and Soul Silver, well, specifically Heart Gold, but it makes no sense in this day and age to go through 100 useless battles with NPCs just to get a Ho-Oh. And again, there's the whole transfer process too. It's like, great, you got Ho-Oh and Colosseum, but do you have all the wires and cables and whatnot to transfer it to your GBA, and then take it from your GBA and transfer it to your DS through Diamond and Pearl, and Diamond and Pearl transfer over to Black and White? It's just such a process, and at this point, my Pokedex has been filled 10 times over. So there's just really no reason for me to go back. If you're interested in it, though, I did want to mention it. It's a cool way to see more 3D battles. It's a good way to test your team after you've taken on the main ciphers and you want another challenge. But other than that, in terms of like the completeness of this walkthrough, I'm calling it done here. I'm calling it at the Shadow Pokes. We've completed the main mission. Ho-Oh is really a bonus. And Jirachi is accessible too through this game, except it was only accessible back in the day through a bonus disc. Thankfully, I had a friend who got that bonus disc, and I was able to obtain a version of Jirachi for myself, the Wishmaker Jirachi, I believe it was. And so, again, I still have that Pokemon in Sun and Moon now, probably stored in Pokemon Bank, honestly, because I've got hundreds and hundreds of these little creatures from over the many years that I've been collecting them. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for Colosseum. And I really want to thank you all for sticking with me. I know it was kind of rough with my upload schedule. I seemed to have great upload rates in the beginning, but then life happened and I had to go to college. So it's interesting because the last episode that I really, discounting the last week's episode, because obviously I came back last week with this, the last episode to be uploaded majorly was in 2013. It's 2017 now. But I finished up with school in December of 2016, so that was a very intense 3 years there. In those 3 years, I studied abroad, I got a grant to do research on aquaponics, I put on some independent TEDx talks. I was busy, and unfortunately I couldn't manage YouTube and all the extracurricular things I was doing, plus school. I mean, there were certain semesters, rather, that I was doing 21 credits, and I don't know if you know, but that is insane. If you've ever gone to college, or if you've ever thought about college and you're trying to plan out your schedule, 21 credits is not a thing to do, because you'll end up just failing a class or something. Chances are, unless you're like uber smart, maybe you'll make it through, but most likely, if you're like me, just an average person who likes Pokemon, you're not going to do great at a 21 course semester. So, that was really intense, and amongst all that, I was learning Japanese. Chotto Nihongo o hanasemasu, which stands for I speak a little Japanese, which is good. I have enough Japanese to get around. I can ask, like, where's this train going, and useful information like that. And me being a vegetarian, that was a really a good thing to know. Niku o nugimasu, which is I don't eat meat, or taberarenai, I can't eat meat. It's just different versions of saying it. So yeah, like, I actually learned some useful skills in college and got to use them abroad, which was super awesome. But you can understand, anybody who's taken up a language understands for sure that it really consumes your life. And every day there was workbook practices, and there was tango, which is vocab, there's kanji, which is just the different characters that have, like, some of them 13 different strokes to it, and stroke order matters. I never got the stroke order. All right, let's be honest, if you learn Japanese, they really can't tell the stroke order, unless you're like a calligraphy expert or something like that. So pretty much what I was trying to do in those 3 years was essentially live an interesting life, and I don't mean to say that in any bad way, like, not doing those things is going to result in an uninteresting life, but that was just my course. I'd been wanting to go to Japan since Pokemon really came out, and I understood where it came from. That was, probably like way back in elementary school. I don't even know what age I was. I just always knew that I had to go to Japan, and I managed to succeed. I was going to be very disappointed in myself if I had gone all the way to college, gone all the way to University of Colorado, which has a study abroad program, and if I didn't use it, I honestly would have felt like I failed. Even if I got through college, even if I got the degree, it personally wouldn't have mattered to me because I didn't get to go. But thankfully, I did. And not only did I get to go to Japan, but in that time, I found an opportunity that fulfilled one of my class requirements that let me go to Brazil. So, in essence, I wanted to live this very interesting life, kind of for YouTube in a way. Obviously for myself, for my own personal growth, but very much so for YouTube, in the sense that my whole YouTube career has been talking to myself / talking to all y'all, not expecting a response, just me rambling on for, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, 24 hours if we're doing a live stream. Yeah, I do a lot of talking on this channel. That's kind of the main appeal, is that it's like a conversation that you don't even have to be in the room for. You can tune in whenever you want. And so in order to make that conversation a little more interesting, I thought, well, hey, if I go to college, if I go to Japan, if I do all these cool things, I'll be able to come back to YouTube and I'll be able to have all these stories to tell. Unfortunately, I didn't really think that it would take me this long to get back on it. And the other thing is, like, I've got so many gigabytes of videos from Japan, from Brazil, and it's a lot of raw footage. Some of it's usable, some of it's not. A lot of it has to be edited. And so you saw how long it took me to get back to this walkthrough and finally purify the heart of Tyranitar there. But we've done it. We've purified all the Pokemon. I've returned from my study abroad trips and graduated college, in case you're wondering. I didn't drop out. So now I have a degree in evolutionary biology and ecology. But I'm hoping you stay tuned for my future projects because I really do enjoy YouTube. It's very much just a hobby at this point. And so in the future, you'll be finding, there's our 48 filled file of Colosseum, you'll be finding some custom adventures, some things you won't be seeing on other channels, and Pokemon experiences that just simply are not out yet. So stay tuned for that.